9-1 Rams, 9-1 Chiefs. Is that good enough for you?
Woohoo!
Also,
I'll be there.
a 31-point lead that wasn't good enough for the Saints, and the one arm attached to one Khalil Mack that was good enough to launch a 300-pound lineman. McMullen, Isola, Yates, Blasky. Let's go!
Right, oh yeah.
Mack took down 3 people. I'll do the same today.
Get me out of here quick. Gotta go to the
I can get you out of here as quick as you want, Blasky. You want to go right now?
I didn't think you heard that.
He's guaranteeing he's out.
Texans 23, Washington 21. The least acknowledged 7-game winning streak in NFL history has to be the Houston Texans. The most traumatic day in Washington quarterbacking history has to be November 18th. Theismann 33 years ago to the day, Alex Smith yesterday. The broken leg has Washington going forward with Colt McCoy, and today signing Mark Sanchez. All while the Dallas Cowboys are on a 2-game tear and 1 game back. Look at Clinton Yates and Frank Isola, just the mere mention of the NFC East, and they think, oh, all right, this is how division is supposed to be. Come on, guys. Yates, I'm going to start with you because this is Washington and this is your division here. Do we see a shift in the way things are going to go with the injury to Smith and how Dallas looked yesterday?
I don't think there's going to be that big of a shift because I always thought this division was up for grabs because Washington is just not that good. I mean, if you look at how they execute, they won a very odd game against the Buccaneers. They lost this one, and it sounds sort of crass to say, but Alex Smith's ceiling was always in question. He had 2 picks when that leg breaking happened, and that's unfortunate, but I never really thought they were going to be on the top end as it were. So Dallas getting back into it, I think, is just a matter of the season playing out over time. The best player on Washington's team is the punter. So that tells you everything you need
Frank
to know about
Isola?
It wasn't too long ago, in fact, 2 weeks to be exact, that we were talking about the head coach of Dallas maybe being out. Since then, they go on the road, they win in Philadelphia, they win on the road in Atlanta, and then they got a team coming into their building on Thanksgiving that's going to be playing Colt McCoy at quarterback. Doesn't make it impossible for Washington, but right now with that running back and the way Dak Prescott played on that final drive, drove them down the field for the winning field goal, I like the way Dallas.
All right, now that we heard from the guys who are in towns of NFC East teams, Jackie Mack, what are we looking at here with Washington? What are we looking at here with Dallas? Is this interesting in any way or just 2 very mediocre teams and then also the defending champ struggling?
I mean, it's interesting because Frank Isola looks like a young Al Pacino today, doesn't he? Right out of The Godfather? I think
wow.
He does. And he'd say, well, then they went on the road and won in
that's so
Philadelphia. Then they went on the road and won in Atlanta. Neither one of those do a whole lot for me because Philadelphia is not very good and Atlanta's worse. But it makes it interesting because they're going to play each other this week. And if Ezekiel Elliott can continue, I would just give him the ball all day, every day. Then I like Dallas's chances. I don't know if it will save his job, though, Garrett's job. Will it, Frank? I'm not sure.
Well, Bill Plaschke, you want to weigh in here?
Playoff team.
I think it's a dramatic shift. The Redskins lost their quarterback, and the Cowboys found their running back and a middle linebacker, Van Der Esch. I mean, they've completely turned everything around. To my mind, the last couple games, Garrett has gotten in his mind, given the ball to Elliott. Elliott caught the most passes he's ever caught on Sunday, and he runs between the tackles, gains 7 yards per carry between the tackles. That's been his best the last 2 games. I think the Cowboys are in the driver's seat suddenly.
Clinton Yates, Colt McCoy going forward, or this Mark Sanchez signing right before Thanksgiving, which is timing out very well for Mark Sanchez, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, Sanchez is familiar with a lot of coaches on the staff. I don't hate the Colt McCoy situation. He showed a little spunk. The last game he won as a QB was in Dallas. He's a Texas guy, so I've got a little bit of confidence in him, but I don't necessarily, again, think that he's a huge drop-off.
I think that the confidence is really more in Gruden. He likes to run a ball control offense that limits turnovers. So that doesn't. So fill in the blank with your quarterback if you follow that particular formula.
Isola?
You know, when you talk about high-pressure jobs in the NFL, being the coach and the quarterback of the Cowboys is way up there. And 2 weeks ago, we were killing both of them. Let's give them a little bit of credit. Right now, everything is in their hands. That game for them on Thursday is set up for them to win.
Yeah, well, Jack, you're talking about Gruden and the running backs. The running backs are hurt, though. I mean, and Peterson's hobbled. I'm not so sure they can save the day for the Redskins.
We'll move on. Saints 48, Eagles 7. Biggest loss by defending champion ever. Up 31, and Drew Brees still in the game. That's the first woe. Then it was 4th and 7, and they went for it. That's the next woe. And, of course, they get a touchdown. In the end, a 48 spot. And New Orleans is pacing out to have just about the best offensive season ever. Bill, did this outcome tell you more about the Saints or the defending, not really defending, champs.
We knew the Saints were great. We finally realized this is all about the Eagles. They're done. The Super Bowl hangover has completely wiped them out. They're injured, they're tired, they're distracted. At one point, they played 3 cornerbacks on the field at the same time who weren't even with the team a month ago. So the injury bugs hit him. Carson Wentz has not been the same. He's still recovering. They don't have the same mojo. It goes back, remember when Malcolm Jenkins warned everybody back in training camp, don't rest on our laurels. They rested on their laurels. Now they're
This is interesting to me, though, because you called it a hangover. Then you mentioned that their entire defensive backfield is new and different. I mean, I'm not sure if a hangover applies if you're so decimated by injuries and you've got such a new unit.
But injuries happen to teams that are wiped out.
True.
Injuries
happened to the Eagles last year. They were an injured team, and they were able to overcome it. Clinton Yates, more about New Orleans yesterday, more about Philadelphia.
I think it was more about Philadelphia, but I agree with you, Tony. There's not as much of a hangover. They lost their offensive coordinator and their quarterbacks coach. There is a brain trust issue that has changed with the Eagles, and it's affected the way that they've played. They've been blanked in 8 of 10 first quarters this season. They are not coming out of the gate well at all, and they just don't look good. So to me, this is much more about the Eagles. We know what the Saints can do, and they put the pressure on
Frank
against
Isola?
Philadelphia.
I'm still trying to figure out how the Saints lost to Tampa Bay in Week 1. You know, the thing about the Eagles this season, they've only scored 21 points, a total of 21 points in the first quarter. So they're constantly playing from behind. And we all love Carson Wentz, but a lot of the pressure and blame has to go to him. He's not all the way back, like Bill said. And remember this. They won the Super Bowl without him last year. He's yet to win a playoff game, so he still has a lot to prove.
Jackie, when you look at it that way, maybe you could focus in on what Frank was just saying about Carson Wentz and also what Yates is saying about the brain trust. You know, guys have left. Doug Peterson's still there. That was the face and name of the brain trust last year.
Right, but not necessarily the offensive brain trust. And Frank, you talk about Wentz. He's had some issues, and I think a lot of it has to do with the lack of protection he's getting this season. I think, I don't have the stats in front of me, but he got a lot better protection last season. Honestly, Tony, I don't know why we're not talking about the Saints. I'm going to talk about the Saints. Drew Brees is on par for, I don't care, make a face, MVP season. MVP,
Yes.
He's never been an MVP. He's almost 40 years old. Like, we should be talking about Drew Brees all the time. You know what's so interesting about him? We know Tom Brady's polarizing, and Aaron Rodgers is polarizing. Is there any other quarterback in the league that everybody agrees they absolutely love? That's Drew Brees.
All right, everybody, let's talk about Drew Brees. Jackie
love.
has decreed it. It's Drew Brees Day. Bill Plaschke, go ahead.
Drew Brees is the MVP. Unbelievable, Drew. I was just about to say that, Jackie. The Saints.
Now everybody's just about to say
it. LA, they are the best team in the NFL right
Clinton
now.
Yates?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun story. I like Drew Brees, and the Saints are just their offensive attack is the best.
We're
thing
not doing it service, so we're just calling it a fun story. Let me ask you this, Frank. Yay or nay on 4th and 7, up 31, going for it?
There's 14 minutes left in the game. It's the NFL. Would you want him to kick a long field goal? That's going to make you feel better. One quick thing, though, about the Eagles. And since Jackie threw a compliment at me, I'm going to throw one at New England. It just goes to show you how great the Patriots have been. Whether they win the Super Bowl, lose the Super Bowl, they always come back the next year, and they're just as tough. That tells you something about them.
Jackie's like, well, that's not a compliment my way. Jackie calls
for
you
her.
a young Al Pacino, and she's like, give me some
I
Laura
haven't
Dern on
watched
here.
it in months.
We're going to move on. This next story. Condoleezza Rice and the Browns. If you first saw the report from Adam Schefter on Twitter, you checked like 3 times to see if it was at Darren Schefter. If you heard him say it on TV, you asked for a birth certificate to make sure it wasn't Frank Caliendo. I mean, that's how far out of left field this came. Cleveland Browns statement saying they're still in the process of composing the list of head coaching candidates, and former Secretary of State Rice has not been discussed. It's got to go down as one of the most bizarre football statements of all time that you never thought you would ever see. Rice's statement did advocate for women coaches, but it also essentially said, let's be serious here. I'm not ready to coach, and I'd love to call a play next year if the Browns need new ideas. Frank, this certainly was a new idea. What are you doing with all the information, and what should Browns fans be doing with this information?
Well, I can't imagine that she was ever going to be the coach. I mean, that's something that you need experience. I will say this, though, about her being in the front office. Go back to when Bo Schembechler went from being the coach of Michigan to being the president of the Detroit Tigers. I remember thinking years ago when the Knicks were looking for a president, hire Bill Parcells. That's a good organizational guy that knows how to run things. If you want to put her in a position like president, in a position of leadership where, she could run an organization, I think that makes sense. Coaching is a little bit different. You really have to work at a much lower level, build your way up out of all the sports, more so in football than any other
Jackie
sport.
McMullen, what did you think when you first heard the report?
I was like, wow. I mean, I knew Condoleezza Rice was a college basketball fan. I didn't know about this love affair with the Cleveland Browns. She's the only person left on earth just about that has this long-time love affair with the Cleveland Browns. So that didn't make a lot of sense to me. I would say this. I think there is a place for women coaches in football, just like I think there's a place for female coaches in every sport. But it should be Catherine Smith, who worked with the Bills, or Katie Sowers, who's been part of the 49ers, who has that background, and Condoleezza made that point herself. I like Frank's idea. Get Condoleezza Rice in the front office in some capacity because she's a brilliant woman who knows football. I'm all
So
for
if
that.
it were to run the organization CEO style, Rice would be an attractive candidate to you, Jackie? Frank? It seems like you're saying yes to that.
Absolutely.
Bill?
Absolutely.
I think so,
You want to
sure.
weigh in
He'd
here?
be a great candidate. Anybody who watched Hard Knocks could say that Condoleezza Rice could come in there and really and get that organization into shape. She'd be perfect. I think probably what happened was they probably mentioned her as a candidate just for the organization and somehow got morphed into the coaching candidate. I would seriously consider her. I would pursue her, bring her in there to run the show. I think she'd do a great job.
I'm still shocked to hear all this because this is so far out of left field. I mean, I have to say this again, Clinton. When you first heard the report, you had to think, is there something that I'm missing here? And then when you heard the denials from the team and from Rice itself, what are you doing with all that information?
Basically, I think as a result of everything you said, Tony, this is kind of embarrassing. Listen, it's not about Condoleezza Rice. She is a smart person that you would want in your front office, as everybody else has stated. But it makes the Browns look like they have no idea what they're doing when it comes to potentially finding someone to lead that team. And they've had a decent turnaround, in my opinion, in terms of Baker Mayfield and what the teams look like. And now you have this. It's not about Rice. It's about just the general left fieldness of it. I don't like it at all.
Bill Plaschke back in.
No, I think just the opposite, Clinton. It shows the Browns are thinking outside the box. They're not going to hire as a head coach, but to bring her into the organization, I want the organization to do some forward thinking. What they've done in the past has not worked.
Frank?
Why not?
Yeah, but I agree with what Clinton's saying. In terms of coaching, it makes a mockery of the whole process, even of the profession. I think in a lot of ways it embarrasses Condoleezza Rice. Putting her in a CEO position, absolutely. Coach, come on.
And Jackie Mack.
So, and I can tell you this firsthand, if you're a female and you're in your industry, you don't want someone to offer you a job or talk about you for a job for publicity purposes. You want them to talk about it because you deserve the job, like Becky Hammon, like Nancy Lieberman, who are both assistant coaches in the NBA.
We've been home. We're going to take a break right here. Jackie Mack. You called Frank Isola a young Al Pacino, which is an incredible
I did.
compliment.
Look at him.
Oh, thank you very much, Jackie.
Look at
Thank
that.
you very
The
much.
little tight
But who
tie.
else do we have in the show today?
Who?
I always said Laura Doran plays Jackie in the show. And we got Billy Joel playing
take that.
Plaschke. Clinton, you want to nominate anyone to play you?
I don't know. What's that guy's name? Derek Luke? Somebody told me he looked like me.
Okay, I'll take that. Round the horn. Buy or sell next.
Who is it?
Get out.
Marshall Ali.
Around the Horn is presented by Cuervo Tradicional. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. Cuervo Tradicional. Part of Happy Hour.
Colts 38, Titans 10. Andrew Luck, 3 touchdown passes for the 7th week in a row. More impressive than that, though, is his effort trying to catch a touchdown pass. Check this out. And then maybe most impressive, Luck hasn't been sacked in the last 5 games. 7 days ago, this panel gave me the Titans as the best team in the division because they just beat the Patriots. And then I say again, none of you have even brought up the Houston Texans, who have won 7 straight games after starting the year 0-3. Bill, more impressed with what the Colts are doing and Luck coming back, or what the Texans are doing?
More impressed with the Texans. That's the first team in 93 years to do that, 7 straight wins after going 0-3. 8th-ranked defense in the league. They've won 4 straight on the road. If they stay healthy, they could be a Super Bowl contender.
Super Bowl contender for the Texans. Well, now that you go that big, you'll get some more points.
That defense against Kansas City.
Against Kansas
yes, I like
City?
that.
Against the Patriots? Against
Yes.
the Steelers? Clinton Yates, how about you?
They have great defense.
I'm more impressed with the Colts because of Andrew Luck managing to come back from that injury, but the Texans are still the better football team. Plaschke has this one right. Their defense is going crazy, and I'm not just saying that because I saw them beat Washington yesterday.
Frank Isola?
Hey, J.J. Watt and Deshaun Watson are healthy. How great is that? But, Tony, you mentioned the stat. 5 games. That's 214 snaps since he was last sacked. Andrew Luck, all he did his first few years was get beaten up. They put an offensive line together. Look how good Andrew Luck is.
Jackie Mack?
Not only that, one of the things we knew about Andrew Luck when things were going bad was he forced the ball. He threw picks. During this winning streak that they have, he's only thrown 1 interception. So the things we always said about Luck was he forces the ball, he never gets protection, and is he healthy enough? All 3 of those have been answered. I think that's pretty amazing. I don't think anybody at the beginning of the year talked about this team as a potential playoff team in any sense.
And I don't think anybody was talking about the Texans as a potential Super Bowl team except for Bill Plaschke.
They are. And I'm not the only one.
Yates, Isola,
I'm sure I'm not
McMullen,
the
and
only
one look or less. Are you with Blaschke? Yeah, okay. We'll move on. Ravens 24, Bengals 21. Lamar Jackson, 19 passes thrown, 27 rushes. That included kneel downs, but it's the most in the NFL in 58 years, most by 5. And his best running play was chasing down the game ball from the referee. Clinton, what were your first impressions of Lamar?
Who's that guy in the suit?
I certainly think he played well enough to justify the start, which was an issue in Baltimore considering what they were dealing with Harbaugh. But he's facing some of the bottom rushing teams in the league coming up on the schedule, so they're going to be running him a lot more. I still want to see the guy throw the ball more, though. I didn't love that pick, but I do think he's
Frank
pretty
Isola?
good for that first start.
He's dynamic, he's exciting, but I agree with Marvin Lewis, who said after the game, you can do that now, but that does not work long-term in the NFL. You have to be a guy that runs on occasion, not all the time.
Jackie, what did you think of that? Like I said, the most runs in the NFL in 60 years by 5 for a quarterback.
Right, so I don't know why Al Pacino's throwing cold water on his big day here, okay? Very first snap for
get hurt.
he runs.
I got water!
I know, I understand that. But let's worry about today's game. And the guy that said that was the losing football coach that Sunday. So I agree that this isn't a long-term solution, but my guess is that at some point Flacco gets his job
Bill
back.
Plaschke?
Just stop getting Frank started, Jackie, please. No, but I think it was fun to watch, but it's against the worst defense in the NFL. They've given up over 500 yards the previous 3 games the Bengals had. I don't know if it's going to last.
Buy or sell 3 now. Game of the week, game of the year, kickoff in 3 hours, Rams and Chiefs.
I got to get there. I got to go.
Plaschke, I can get you there right now if you want. Frank, are you expecting an offensive bonanza? How's this game going to be won?
Absolutely. I think it's going to live up to the hype. I think the Rams are going to win it. How great is it to get a high-profile game that doesn't include the Patriots, the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Giants, 2 new teams. It's good to see.
Jackie Mack?
Well, I think it's a great game because it's the future with the 2 great young quarterbacks that everybody's got their eyes on, Mahomes and Goff. I'm going to take Kansas City in this game, Frank. He gets rid of the ball 2.5 seconds or less better than anybody in the league right now.
Yeah, give me some analysis here, Bill Plaschke. Frank's telling me it's a good game. Thank you very much for Frank. I needed to hear that from you. And Jackie finally got to Mahomes and how he gets rid of the ball, but please, go ahead.
He gets rid of the ball fast. Aaron Donald gets to the backfield faster than anyone. That's why I'm taking the Rams in this game. They will put the pass rush on the Chiefs at home. The Coliseum's going to be rocking. Rams win.
Yates.
Yeah, I think that with Bieniemy and Mahomes, that combination in terms of offensive coordinator and the quarterback, I really like what the Chiefs are going to do, but they got to make sure they don't make mistakes. The Chiefs average the most penalties in the league.
Is that right? They're still 9-1 despite that. You don't see that often.
Yeah.
Good piece of information. It's not enough to
Rams
get
have the
you
fewest turnovers in
to
the
the
league,
level
right,
that you
Bill?
need to for showdown, but we'll let you go right here. That's it for Yates. That's it for Plaschke. He's got a game to cover, so this is good for you. Isola McMullen in showdown. Frank, the inches you need are everywhere. There you go, Attica. I'm out of order, you're out of order, we're all out of order. Let's go. Take a break. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
Presented by Cuervo Tradicional. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour.
Jackie McMullen, Frank Isola, a 2-point conversion away from winning the show. Are they going for it? Let's see. Here's Ron Rivera. Yesterday.
Well, I think you go for 2 on the road to win the game. I was going for the win, to win the game. I went for 2 to win the football game.
When that 2-point conversion doesn't win it, does that L go on Ron for going for it or on Cam for missing the pass, Frank?
Both of them, the execution was terrible. I didn't like the play. Look at the way Maryland played their game against Ohio State. Have the quarterback running out. The execution didn't work there either. I don't know why the venue was such a big deal. Go for the tie, play overtime.
Yeah. Go for the tie and play overtime. And you know what? If you absolutely are hell-bent on running the 2-point conversion, Tony, then let Cam Newton fake the pass and run it into the end zone himself. He's done that twice in his career and connected both.
Yes, I mean, I agree with you on the play call, but I agree with Rivera that you're going for 2 here. Win the game. Go win the game.
Why?
We'll split the point because
They didn't.
Because this is the way we're doing things. We're moving on. Showdown 2. What Khalil Mack did with one arm to a 305-pound man and what Kirk Cousins did to the Vikings. Takeaway from the Bears win and stranglehold on the division right now, Jackie.
Well, we know the Bears are all about defense. Raiders fans, cover your ears. Mack wreaked havoc back there. They have 18 interceptions, Tony. That's more than the past 2 seasons combined.
Historically, they've been a
Frank,
team that's been built around defense, and they have the great linebacker. But this is also about the development of their second-year quarterback, Trubisky, who's been terrific this year. And with Green Bay struggling, why not Chicago?
You were an Al Pacino reference away from winning this showdown, Frank, I saw, but I didn't hear from you. Frankie, you're not getting the point. Jackie Mack, FaceTime, 30 seconds.
Well, happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and I hope you will give thanks to the important people in your life. I'm going to do that for the 3 charities that I've been involved with over the past few years. We know that charities raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, but the people behind those charities who don't make a lot of money are the ones I'm going to recognize today. That includes you, Bob Scannell from the Dorchester Boys and Girls Club, who's amazing. Virginia Koukazian, who has worked for Huntington's Disease Society of America, New England, overcome her own illness to help those families in need. And of course, Lindy Kittredge from Shooting Touch, who I went to Rwanda with. You guys are what
What a
make
great
our
FaceTime, Jackie.
wonderful.
And Frank was
Thank you
just going to
for
talk
all
about the
the work.
Knicks, so there we go. We'll see you tomorrow.
Great job, Jackie.